Shalom. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Dash. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also want to acknowledge all the Akyam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and go in on Genesis 16, and I'm going to start at 1, right? Dealing with Hagar, the heathen woman, given as a wife to our forefather Abraham, the patriarch Abraham. Alright? It says, now Sarai, who was Sarah, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had an handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, behold now, Yahweh hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarai. Alright, so see, imagine these women here in Babylon doing a gesture like this. Alright? It shows you how far gone off our women are these days. There ain't no woman in Babylon, America that's gonna ask or perform a gesture like this, you know. Literally giving another woman to her husband so that Abram could bear sons. All right, so let's keep reading. Verse 3. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband, Abram, to be his wife. You see what's going on here? Sarai is doing a righteous thing in the eyes of Yahweh, giving her handmaid, which was like her slave, right? A woman underneath her. She gave her to her husband Abram because she was concerned. Well, you know what? Really quick, let's go into this. These devils, they're constantly changing things up because I didn't see this definition. We got to go to the Merriam-Webster definition to get the word woman. It says an adult, for the first example, an adult female person, a woman belonging to a particular category, distinctively feminine nature, a woman who is a servant or personal attendant. So when you go into that word woman, that's the point. The word woman is it means servant, literally. All right. So that's what. All right, Slakia. So as I was saying, the word woman, it means servant. So how many women are going to serve their man in this way, in this Babylonian American captivity, in this day and age, right? The answer is pretty much slim to none, zero, usually. But that's how she was serving. That's how much she was serving her man. You know what? Let me get this other precept real quick before I read this. And that's why these women, man, when you really get in this truth, you start having the mindset, a different mindset than these heathen and these people that are around us. And it's almost like you just want to wait for the kingdom to deal with these women. You feel like that at times, because you get around a woman, man, you especially these modern women, you hear the way they talk, you hear the way their minds, the way they think, and it's just, man, they're fucking polluted, bro. These women are polluted. All right, let's see. Let me get this real quick. Let me see. All right, so let's go to 1 Timothy 2 and 13. It says, 1 Timothy 2 and 13 says, "For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in transgression." So, verse 15, "Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety." Right? So, it shows you that Adam was first formed, then Eve, not Eve and then Adam. So the reason why Eve was created was to serve Adam. It wasn't because Yahweh didn't make Eve first and then create Adam to serve Eve. No, it's the other way around. All right. Um, now let's go to 1 Corinthians, because there's an order, right? And these women here in Babylon, America, they seem to have forgot the order. 1 Corinthians 11 and 3. You got to ask yourself, why have our women forgotten the order? And the reason is because of the so-called white man. He's exalted them. He's taught them that he gives them the phrase, happy wife, happy life. That's not true. All right? Because there are men all over America, all over Babylon, trying to make their wives happy, and them bitches still ain't happy, man. Still, like I tell you in the past lessons, they leave their husbands when divorce rates are like 60%, and 80% of those divorces are initiated by women. Because why? Because they're out of order. Because America calls itself, a godly nation, and they, one nation under God. But this is all bullshit. Because if this was one nation under God, these women would know the order, and they don't even know the simple thing is that, right? 1 Corinthians 11 and 3, it says, "But I would have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Hamashiach is the Most High." You see that? So there's an order. All right? There's an order to this. And let's read it. Keep reading. Verse 4, "Every man praying or prophesying having his head covered dishonoreth his head." So guess what? When we, as men, when we teach or when we prophesy or pray, if we have our head covered, this is why you never see brothers at camps wearing hats or covering our head in any type of way. Because if you are doing that as a teacher or praying, and you have your head covered, you dishonor with your head. So who's our head? We just read it. Hamashiach is the head of the man. All right. So in verse 5, "But every woman that prayeth or prophesieth with her head uncovered dishonoreth her head, for that is even all one as if she were shaven." You see that? So she might as well shave her head and look like Sinead O'Connor, the chick that just died. Yahweh just judged her. But the point being, if these women uncover their head while they pray or prophesy, then she's dishonoring her head. And who's her head? Her husband. She dishonors her husband. You know, women. You know, the nature of a woman is to be instructed and delegated, and you know, that's their nature. That becomes an adornment for a woman, and that becomes natural for a woman. But when they're out of their natural habitat, you know, in the workforce, you know, you got MMA women fighters, all kind of different things that women do that they ain't supposed to be doing. So what happens? Now their whole fucking brain is all polluted, fucked up. The so-called white man exalted them, put, you know, the social media. These women, they got thousands of dudes hitting them up per week just at the click of a button. So they get this sense of validation, and they get all fucked up in their head, man. They're dishonoring their head. And like I said, even if they decide to pray, or if they're out there trying to teach somebody with their head uncovered, these women become a disgrace to their head, which is their husband. All right. Let me see. What was I gonna grab? Well, let's keep reading. Verse 6. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and the glory of the Most High, but the woman is the glory of the man. So the woman's the glory of a man. That's why when you take your woman out and she's looking good or whatever, that's why people treat you a certain type of way, you know? You might have other women smiling at you. You might have men holding doors for you and your woman to walk through. All this type of stuff, you know? And why is that? It's because a woman is the glory of a man. That's our glory. Verse 8. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man. All right, so showing you the order, the dominion. The man, we didn't come. Adam was not created for Eve, but indeed Eve was created for Adam. Okay, to serve him, to be his help. All right. Verse 9, neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. Right there, plain as day, it tells you. All right? So you men out here, you got to get in that mentality. And really, the majority of you are never going to come to this mentality, because you got your head so far up your woman's ass. You even have this discussion with her. She's liable to leave your ass, you see? Because you ain't a real man. Honestly, if you can't, and this is something we learn in the truth, right? Because we've all been there. We've all been where we bought into this bullshit philosophy where you got to please your wife and kiss her ass your whole life. You know, the men in America, they have no nutsack, man. Their balls have been taken. You can't be a man in this country, man. You can't. This place is fucking wicked as hell, and that's why you got the state of this country the way it is. Because these women are ruling over us. It tells you that. Let's get that real quick. Isaiah 3:12. As for my people, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which lead thee cause thee to err, and destroy the way of thy paths. See that? Who leads the Israelites here in America? It's the so-called white man, the Edomites. Their philosophy is all ass backwards, all fucked up, man. And it goes back to Egyptian philosophy. Because the same thing was happening in Egypt. They had woman worship. You know, America is an extension of Rome and Egypt. America is spiritual Egypt. So that's why the way things are the way they are here. The women rule over us. Children are the oppressors, right? You got a lot of people in America because they have split families. That's what this America is, a nation that is split, even the families. And then the men and the women have a sense of guilt, so they try to kiss the children's ass, and the children become their oppressors, man. You know, you feel bad because you're not with the baby mom, or you know what I'm saying? So you try to please the child, and all of a sudden the child they become monsters. You can't do that. You know that the children are not meant to be brought up like that. But that's how it is here in America, and that's why, again, this place is all fucked up. All kinds of fucked up here in Babylon, America. But let me go back to Genesis 16. All right, because it kind of went off. I was just reading about Sarah giving Hagar to be Abram's, you know, concubine, wife. Let's see, Genesis 16 and where am I at? 3. We'll go to 3. It says, and Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abraham to be his wife. And he went in unto her, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And this is just like a woman too, because even Sarai, you know, she's like, okay, I want you to go in unto my. Well, you know what? Let me back up to verse 2, because I wanted to make a point and I didn't make it. It said, let me read it again. Verse 2, and Sarai said unto Abram, behold, now Yahweh hath restrained me from bearing, meaning bearing children. And remember, we read it in what was it, Corinthians, or was it Timothy? I can't remember now. But it said that childbearing will be her salvation. So childbearing is a woman's salvation, you know, literally. If a woman is attached to an elect man and she has children with him, that's going to be her salvation. You see? But these women don't have no wisdom. They don't understand that. But, you know, if a woman does understand that and she follows through and you know, gives an elect man a child, that's her salvation. We just read that earlier. So anyway. But see, that's why Sarah was like, look, you're going to, and let's read it. Let's read it. And Sarai said unto Abram, behold now, Yahweh hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. And remember, pray means beg. So she's like, I beg you, go in unto this maid. You see how, that's the point I wanted to make. She was literally begging Abraham, no, go into my maid so that I can have children through her for you. But guess what happens? Verse 4. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived, and when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. So after she told Abram to go in unto Hagar, now she despised Hagar. That's the nature of women, man. Oh, now she hated Hagar, right? Jealous, right? That was her adversary at that point. Verse 5. And Sarai said unto Abram, and remember, Sarah was fine as hell, because we read that in, well, I didn't read it today to you, but in when Abraham first went among the Egyptians, he told the Egyptians that it was his sister, because he was afraid they would kill him because she was so fine. They wanted to take her from him. So you got to understand, Sarah was a bad bitch, like they would call him in these days, right? They call a woman a bad bitch if she's fine as hell. That's what Sarah was. Sarah was bad. Like Sarah, you know, she was fine as hell. You know, just think of just picture a fine ass black woman. You know, dope ass, big old curves on her, big old titties, big old fat ass. You know, thin little waist, beautiful face, flawless skin. This is Sarah I'm describing. All right. You can imagine. But she despised Hagar because Hagar had bear those children for Abram, who would later be called Abraham, the father of many nations. Verse 5. And Sarai said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. And Yahweh judge between me and thee. All right, and so they both despised each other. I think it's safe to say that. I'm trying to figure out who was despising in verse 4. But it's safe to say, because you know how women are, they were both despised each other at that point. Verse 5. So, Sarah comes to Abram telling him, hey, look, there's a problem. Now we're despising each other since she had a child for you. Verse 6. But Abram said unto Sarai, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. So Abram's like, hey, look, that's between you guys. That was your handmaid. I just did what you told me to do. Do what you got to do with her. That's your handmaid. That ain't my woman. She was a concubine, right? So he was just like, do what you got to do. Verse 7. And then she dealt hardly with her, meaning she was a bitch to her, made her feel like shit to the point where Hagar just took off. She fled from her face, it says. Verse 7. And the angel of Yahweh found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence, this is the angel talking to Hagar, whence camest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. So she was, okay, let me correct myself. I stand corrected. I mean, it was a harsh thing for both women. They both despised each other. But earlier when I said, when I read verse 4, it was actually talking about Hagar being despising Sarah. Right? She had the baby, and then she was like, oh, I hate this chick. I hate this bitch. You know how women are with other women. Cold as hell to each other, fake to each other, right? Verse 8. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence camest thou, and what whither thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, return to thy mistress, and submit thyself unto her hands. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. So she had a divine experience out when she fled Hagar. Mind you, this is a heathen woman. She was of the Egyptians, right? The Egyptians, the Hebrews were different. They were not the same people. Egyptians were the Canaanites, the descendants of Ham. The Hebrews were the Israelites, the descendants of Shem. All right? So let's keep reading. Verse 11. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh hath heard thy affliction. Okay? So, this is the forefather of what you would call the Arab nations. Ishmaelites, right? Let me get that word real quick. Let me see. So I looked it up right now. It says for Ishmael, the definition is God will hear. So that's why the angel told her, I'll read it again in 11. And the angel of Yahweh said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because Yahweh hath heard thy affliction. So that's what that name Ishmael means. Yahweh will hear. All right. He heard her affliction, and he, like the angel told her, he was gonna create a nation out of Ishmael, and that number is going to be a multitude, which ended up becoming the because you got to remember, this is before Jacob and Esau, so there was no so-called, well, at that point there were no Israelites or no Edomites. Through the spirit, yes, but not by the true nationalities. Those didn't come about until after Abraham and Sarah had a son named Isaac, but that's a whole nother lesson. All right. So Ishmael, he became the forefather of the Ishmaelites. All right. Which today those would be like those Arabs. Let's keep reading. And those Arabs, they know their forefather. It's our people that don't know who their forefathers are. So-called Black, Latino, Native Americans, they don't know they're the Israelites, but yet the freaking Arabs, they understand that Ishmael is their forefather, showing you that we would lose our heritage, like Yahweh told Jeremiah. Verse 12, it's still talking about Ishmael. And he will be a wild man, his hand will be against every man, and every man hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. So Ishmael, he's that wild man. He's so wild that they have a thing called in the Arab world, they have a thing called suicide bombers. All right, that's how wild Ishmael is. He will become a suicide bomber, right? That's when these men blow themselves up. They'll take themselves to like somewhere where they want to kill a bunch of people, and they'll blow themselves up. They'll sacrifice their own self to kill the people around them. All right. Let me look that up real quick. Let me just get that real quick. Let's read it. It says, I just said suicide bomber definition and meaning. The meaning of a suicide bomber is a person who commits suicide by exploding a bomb in order to kill other people. You see that? That's Ishmael. He's a wild man. Verse 13, it says, And she called the name of Yahweh that spake unto her, Thou Most High seest me, for she said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well was called Beer Lahai Roy. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bare Abraham a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael, which means God heareth. Remember that. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram. So he was 86 years old, man, when he had Ishmael. But that's just a little trivia answer. How old was Abram when Hagar, the handmaid, conceived his son? 86, the answer. So it shows you, the men, it shows you that we're a degenerate plant, man. Let me grab that real quick. Because you can't picture an 86-year-old man having kids right now. It could happen, but that's rare. But in this time, hey, we were stronger men. That's why Yahweh, right here, let me read it. Yet I planted thee a noble vine, Jeremiah 2:21, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into a degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? See, we used to be a noble vine. That's why when we were noble vine, hey, we could have babies well into our 80s, hundreds. But now we're weak. We're weaker. People, they try to tell you with Esau Edom science, oh, we're stronger than we used to be, this and that. Well, you read the Bible and that says otherwise. We're not stronger than we used to be. We're a degenerate plant in the eyes of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and close out that and call Allah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. It's 10:44, I just noticed. So that's that 144, baby, popping up. I think it happened yesterday, too, when I was doing my lesson. So, I'm going to close out. Just wanted to go in a little bit in Genesis. I was reading some Genesis this morning, so I decided to do that lesson. But I hope this was an edifying lesson. I want to give all the praise, all the glory, all the honor, all the love unto Yahweh, B'Hashem, Yahushai, B'Hashem, Mekakadosh. Double honors goes out to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching me the truth. Also, when I acknowledge all the Akiam who are pushing the truth with sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom to the elect. Shalom, brothers.